accident.
Are you okay?
I don't know.
Okay, did you call the police yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'm gonna call an advocate and you can tell us both at the same time, okay?
Hey, Sarah, your dad told me that you need help.
So, is there anything that I need to do, or...?
Just focus on getting better.
With an advocate on your side, you're never alone.
Today's the day! And look who I just met.
Hey, Dad.
You deserve a worry-free recovery. You deserve an advocate.
This is the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, the Monty Show, live on your YouTube machine, Monday, October 28th, 2024, and another shocking weekend in the Big 12. The ride continues for BYU football. You're going to hate it. You're going to hate it, but Colorado's bowl eligible. Where are all the Coach Prime haters today? And we got to talk about football in the state of Texas. Longhorn fans, how you feeling today? Houston fans, TCU fans, 8-Ball, Mr. Clean, Waco, Baylor fan, how you guys feeling today? A crazy weekend in the state of Texas. Dallas Cowboy fans, how you feeling? I already know the answer. I'm a Bears fan. You don't have to ask. The Monty Show. Speaking of injuries, the Monty Show. Presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com. Clear, risk-free advice. That's what you need when you're having one of the worst moments of your life, which generally is what happens when you've been in an accident, whether that's at work and you have uncertainty about your job, a car accident. Dude, they got you covered at The Advocates 24/7, 365 days a year at theadvocates.com. You can chat with an injury attorney live online for free at theadvocates.com. What an incredible weekend of college football in the NFL. And you have just another shocking weekend in the Big 12. And it's time to stop wondering if BYU can do the job anymore. And I know we've talked a lot of BYU football on this show. I know we've talked about whether or not they're a college football playoff contender. All of that is 6-8 weeks away. What we are asking now, and if you're a BYU fan, what I think you have to wonder, can you win the Big 12 championship? You are looking at a situation where some people believe in BYU in the Big 12 and some don't. The coaches poll actually did not elevate BYU beyond where they were last week at 12. You're number 9 in the AP poll now, which obviously is far more important. But I think perception is reality in college sports. And I wonder how much respect BYU has across the board after what was a dominant performance in Orlando. Did RJ Harvey run all over BYU? He did. Did it matter? It did not. It did not at all, because Jake Retzloff, Darius Lassiter, and this BYU defense was absolutely dominant. And I think they answered a lot of questions about their ability to go on the road in a hostile environment, which also speaks volumes about the BYU fan base, which showed up in mass in Orlando and took over the bounce house, something that you don't see often. The bounce house in Orlando, as I've talked about on this show for a very long time, is one of the best home field advantages in college football, unless BYU is coming to town and Gus Malzahn is still the head coach. And that BYU defense came and dominated. Jake, I don't think there's any more questions. This is a Big 12 conference championship contending BYU team.
Absolutely. And I think the adjustments they made offensively against UCF, really stood out. I mean, we talked all week last week about how, BYU needed to run the football more to win this game. You've got LJ Martin with 100 yards on the ground. BYU needed to take care of the football. And, you look at it and no interceptions out of Jake Retzloff. You look at the defense, and obviously it's 2 weeks in a row where the opposition has ran the ball against you, effectively. But obviously, like he just said, with your performance overall in the game, RJ Harvey's performance didn't really have this massive impact like it typically does for UCF. And I think, a lot of that was, the defensive game plan, the defensive scheming, how you went about slowing down how you went about slowing down Ja'Cory Brown. Like there was a lot of positives out of this football game for BYU. And yeah, I absolutely think we need to be looking at them now as a team that can go out and compete for a Big 12 championship. I think that, BYU has shown you that they are mature enough now as a football team and as a coaching staff where they can see, okay, hey, we're going on the road against this UCF team. It's not going to be good enough just to have Jake throwing it all over the football field. We are going to actually have to run the football, and, we are going to have to take better care of the football. I felt like, we didn't get that bad, cute trick play stuff out of Aaron Rodgers. We got a commitment to running the football, and I just felt like BYU was prepared. That's the word that keeps coming back for me week in and week out. They look prepared, and it's just really a matter of, does the preparedness translate into execution for BYU? And this week it clearly did.
Yeah, I 100% disagree. I think that the balance and the play calling on offense for BYU still needs significant work. I thought the change that this offense made to allow Jake Retzloff to run more, as much as a double-edged sword as that is, I thought that was the big change. I think when you look at some of the numbers in this game, that LJ Martin only had 15 carries to me is a mistake. LJ Martin's the best back on that team. He has got a different kind of explosiveness. I think he makes good decisions. I think, of course, he's got to show that he can protect the football, but to only give him 15 carries, to spread it between him and Hinckley Rapati, I think is a mistake. I think the only reason you got a significantly higher volume of running plays versus passing plays is because Jake Retzloff ran the ball 14 times and ran it effectively. I thought that play where he ran for that first score, the minute you saw that play break down and he took off, you knew it was going to be a good day for Jake running the football. I would love to see them just turn around and run the ball 4, 5, 6 times in a row. But that's not who Aaron Rodgers is. And I think we have to get used to that. I think it is also very interesting that you're looking at Jake Retzloff only throwing the ball 24 times. And again, I thought this was one of his more efficient games throwing the football. I thought he did a much better job protecting the football when he threw it. But let's not make any mistake. The play calling was not better in this game for BYU. And I think I saw a lot of that on Twitter that, hey, I feel better, or the play calling was not more balanced. The play calling was not better. Jake Retzloff ran the ball 14 times. And his ability to, in my opinion, go off script running the football is why they were able to dominate this game. Those critical first down runs he got, his ability to slip out, and in my opinion, get even half a yard, right, and avoid the sacks, I thought was huge. But again, he ran the ball 14 times and averaged 2.7 yards a carry. That tells you he was pressured a lot. So there are definitely some things to clean up. And I think that's very evident if you watch this game. But I also think what's so evident is Isaiah Glasgow is the best linebacker in this conference. I think the way that Glasgow played, the way that this BYU defense came up time and time again, and for the third week in a row, put a physical beating on a quarterback, that's the storyline out of this game. As much frustration, I think we're going to deal with this Aaron Rodgers play calling frustration all season long. I think that's just who he is. I think it's his identity. But I can handle that as long as the special teams executes. The trick play on the field goal, the fake field goal, brilliance. Should he have thrown it? Absolutely not. If you're the kicker in that situation, and you're not comfortable throwing that pass, I don't care if the guy's wide open. You got to get the first down. You're faking a field goal. That was your priority. That's what you did. This defense physically beating people, physically taking the want to out of players. I think that's the storyline in this game.
Yeah, I agree. They were extremely physical and obviously knocking Brown out of the game. And you saw that the broadcast had all kinds of clips of him on the ground, kneeling over, on the bench, kneeling over. Like, it was clear that he was uncomfortable, and they put it to him. But I guess I don't know. I think that BYU I guess I came out of this game feeling like BYU ran the ball so effectively that they just simply didn't need to run it more. Like, it had been nice to run it more. You could have run it more. Like, you could have controlled this game more. You didn't need to throw it as much as you did, but they were running it so effectively that I felt like that was just kind of the flow of the game for them. So I agree that generally speaking, Aaron Rodgers tends to be, a pretty inconsistent with his play calling. I mean, I think we've talked about that. That's been pretty well established. But I don't know. I like the balance. I thought that LJ Martin and Rapati were a nice 1-2. They seem fresh all game. They seem to be one step faster than the guy chasing them. Like, to me, I just felt like it was a overall, yes, there are things to clean up, but I felt like you went on the road, you had a plan, and you executed the plan, which led to you winning this game pretty comfortably. We didn't get the, hey, Baylor climb back into this game situation.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that. Again, I don't know what game you watched, but you give up 14 points in the fourth quarter. And this is the one thing coming out of this game that really worries me. This is a pattern with BYU where you have a comfortable lead. I think we certainly saw this against Oak State, and you allow them to come back in the game. And I think that this team, the one thing that I would really like to see this team do besides run the football more is close games out by running the football more, burn the clock. If you take teams out of their ability to possess the football in the third and fourth quarter, I think that really that would make a difference at the end of this game. And when you're giving up 14 points in the fourth quarter, that's concerning to me. It doesn't matter to me anyway. It does not matter who you're playing. If you're giving teams 14 points in the fourth quarter, you're giving them life. You are giving them life. And this game, I agree, was not close. It should have been a much wider margin of victory. If you don't give up those 14 points, you win this game 37-10. That's a dominant victory. And I understand people are going to be like, well, you're so negative. It's not negativity. If you're BYU, again, I encourage you, go look at the coaches poll. And you're going to be like, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Perception is reality. And I think on a busy Saturday of college football, how many people of note were watching the play-by-play of BYU and UCF? Not a lot. Not a lot at all. And so when you ask, hey, is 37-24 different than 37-10 when your garden variety college football playoff voter is looking back in December and trying to figure out if you belong in or belong out? Because let's be honest, if BYU doesn't win the Big 12 championship, are they likely to get into the college football playoff? Not likely to get in my opinion. If they don't win, you left things to question. 37-24 is a hell of a lot different perception versus reality than 37-10.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I think it is their inability to control the clock because they don't. And this is why I want LJ Martin to be the number one back. Give him the ball repeatedly because he can catch the ball and he can run the ball and you can control the clock.
But do you have no fear that the guy's going to get hurt if you overexpose him?
He's
been hurt his entire career.
That's football. I think you can't, man. It is Halloween. We can't worry about people getting injured anymore. He's your best running back. And I understand. I'm not saying not to give Rapati carries. I'm not saying that at all. They're thunder and lightning. And that's how in my opinion, that's how they should be used. They should be used where for every 3-4 carries, Rapati gets one. LJ Martin gets 3-4, Rapati gets one. And if LJ Martin gets hurt, well, now it's time to get into your depth. That's good football teams. And if you're a good football team, you have depth. You look at the bottom of this conference offensively. You look at the Utahs, you look at the Houstons, you look at the Oak States, you look at the Baylors. They don't have depth. If you're going to win in this league and in college football across the board, you've got to have depth. We're going to talk about Ohio State. Look at the struggles of Ohio State's offensive line. Do you have better talent? Do you have more rotational players? I would guess not. Ohio State's getting beat on the offensive line right now. You have to be able to coach, develop, and use your depth properly. And if LJ Martin gets hurt, you have next man up mentality. I am not worried about guys getting hurt in October. That's just to me, it's part and parcel of football.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Like I said, I mean, I guess I watched a different game, like you said, so that's cool.
Yeah, my biggest concern for BYU is the way they close games. Is it taking your foot off the gas or?
Yeah, I think it was because you were up, whatever you said, 37-10 or whatever, and then they had, or it would have been 34-10 going to the fourth, So I think, yeah, they took their foot off the gas. That's correct.
You can't do it. You can't do it because, again, when I look at look at some of the stats in this game, you gave up 379 yards of total offense. Now, granted, you put up 483, but if you look at the fact that they ran for 181 yards, you ran for 255, and they still scored 24 points. That's for my money. That's it. There's some things that are a little concerning here. There are some things that are a little concerning. The defense, again, I am wildly impressed with this defense. I am. It was a little scary watching Mangelson get hurt for BYU because I think he's a really important part of that defensive front. But I think the way that these guys performed in Glasgow, Kelly, you look at some of the defensive numbers, Wakely, and had one little snafu, but Crew Wakely being in the right place consistently. And the fact your leading tackler had 5 tackles tells me like this entire defense is involved. It tells me that they're paying attention to details. And you look at that, you did all of this with only 1 sack. Man, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, 3 passes defended. I think that I don't know how else to talk about Isaiah Glasgow. The guy just is. There are no more adjectives or accolades I can pile on top of him. He's fast. He's brutal. The guy is inflicting damage on the best players on the other team. It's
great to see.
I think it's remarkable.
Yeah,
I think it is remarkable.
I think it's a trademark of the BYU defense, and I think it's a trademark of any great defense, whether it's at the college level or the NFL level. You have to be willing to hurt people. You have to be willing to punish people, and you have to be willing to hit the quarterback hard when you get your chances, and they don't miss. And all last week, everyone said we wanted Patrick Mahomes to get hurt when we said that dude should be, taking him to the woodshed on the sideline when he wants to not step out of bounds. And I think you see that with BYU. Ja'Cory Brown wants to stand back there and wants to hold on to the football. You're going to pay a price for it. So, yeah, I think the BYU defense absolutely took their foot off the gas at the end of the game because it was 34-10 and the game was clearly over. And I agree with you. They need to learn that perception is reality and that the coaches poll matters and that the AP matters. However, obviously you got into the top 10, which is nice to see, nice progress. But it does beg the question, what this team will do against better competition, because again, and I know I clearly saw this game differently, but I felt like the balance that you brought to the offense, I felt like was intentional. I felt like
But what balance are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that 2 backs have basically the same amount of carries, and your clear goal was to keep them fresh the whole game, so you could pound the rock the entire game. So you didn't have to. I mean,
that's great. That's great that they LJ Martin had 15 carries, and Hinckley Rapati had 13 carries. Jake Retzloff ran the ball 14 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see it as great balance. And a lot of those runs were off script. And I'm not complaining about the offense. Don't mistake this. But if we're going to sit here and we're going to critically break this game down, BYU has to run the football more effectively and, in my opinion, with more intentionality. You run the football with the intention of burning the clock to a certain extent. You run the football and you do it to control the pace of the game. And I think part of this is I don't think that BYU, who averaged 5.3 yards a carry against UCF, I don't know that they fully embrace clock control on this football team.
Well, that's fair. Yeah. And that's both sides of the football.
I think that, well, on defense, it's far less impactful. You on defense, you've got to make plays. BYU is making plays all over their defense. On offense, you have to be able to sustain when you are in the lead in the second half and you know that you're having trouble with RJ Harvey running the football, you've got to be able to sustain 10, 12, 14 play drives by running the football, by consistently being in 3rd and short, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and less than 5. And I don't think we've seen that out of this offense. I don't think we've seen that out of this running game, frankly. So I guess everybody, if you're getting excited about balance, I want to see 30 passes from Jake Retzloff. I want to see 30 runs from LJ Martin. And whatever happens after that, great. That's balance. Run it as much as you pass it. In fact, run it a little more than you pass it, and everything's great. If you're going to pass it 30 times, give me 45, 50 runs. And you want to talk about injuries. If you're worried about LJ Martin, are you not worried about Jake Retzloff running the ball 14 times?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're concerned about it, but like you said, I think a lot of those were, off script, of course. A lot of those were, hey, like, didn't have something open, had to scramble, try to create, so yeah, I mean, obviously your quarterback, you're always trying to make sure you're mitigating risk with him. And I do think that we've talked about, what was it? The Oklahoma State game, I think it was, where he throws that interception and then has to make that tackle at the end of the first half. Like, those are the things that I think you're trying to remove from, like exposing Jake Retzloff. You don't want him to have to be out tackling people.
Don't try too hard to be sophisticated.
Yeah.
Right? You've got 2 physically punishing defenses coming at you in Utah and Arizona State in what is that? Arizona State's the 23rd. Those are 2 physically punishing defenses. I think, obviously, it's nice you have a bye week going into the Utah game. And I think it's really imperative you come out of that Utah game, you look at what we saw out of Kansas this week. That Kansas team's not laying down for anybody. That Kansas team, and again, maybe this is the one of the main talking points today. K-State's living dangerously. Having watched every snap of that Kansas game, if you are not concerned about Avery Johnson having to throw the ball to win you games, I am not sure what you're looking at. He had 2 balls, one on that last drive where the defensive lineman had it in his hands. He had the football right here and dropped it. And you look at that other interception Kansas dropped, both of those end the game. And they're terrible. The last throw that Avery Johnson made there was inexplicable. And if you're a K-State fan this morning, please stand up, because I would love to understand. If you're K-State, there's got to be a higher level of insecurity at this point, because his numbers, and this is what fans will do. They'll go look at a box score and say, well, Marty, look at his numbers. Bro, if Kansas can catch a football on defense, you lost that game. You lost that game. Like you look at the numbers out of that game, and I think the only thing you can come up with is, can Avery Johnson throw us to a win in a big critical situation? And I'm telling you, the answer is he has not shown that yet.
Well, and I think it's a tale of 2 halves, right? I mean, obviously, K-State, struggles in the first quarter, comes out in the second quarter, throws up, 16 points, dominant second quarter. But then in the second half, you come out and Kansas is all over you. And we've talked about it so much, where if K-State's behind, that's bad news for you. That's bad news for you as a K-State fan, because, yeah, I think Avery is not a polished enough passer, and the decision-making in the heat of the moment tends to be suspect. He tends to make throws that are putting it nicely, risky, and he tends to ask his receivers to go out and make a play, when really what it should be is, hey, we're behind, we have an offensive scheme that allows us to go down the field.
Maybe today's just the day that we're going to disagree. Maybe that's what today's show is. That last throw by Avery Johnson was an abomination. You've got to take the sack there. I understand you're trying to keep your team in field goal range. Do you rather take the sack, or do you rather have a defensive lineman drop an interception? Now, at the end of the day, sitting here Monday morning, well, thankfully you dropped the interception, right? Because if and this is the unspoken truth. If that cat makes that interception, the Big 12 is worse off for it. Let's just be real honest about it. If K-State loses that game and they're 6-2, their season's over. They're going to a bowl game, and I'm telling you, because think back to that last play, and I don't know how many people saw it. It's Avery Johnson trying to move this team down the field to get a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
He is under immense pressure, and he goes full Will Levis and he's getting hit and just flicks the ball.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about.
Like, where are you? What are you thinking?
So I'm talking about under the heat of the moment, when you're under pressure, you're like, again, most times plays like this are going to happen when you're behind in a game. Obviously, you're having to throw your team to victory. You're in that 2-minute situation. Like, generally speaking, that's when bad decisions for young quarterbacks happen. And that's exactly what we saw out of Avery Johnson. And I agree. If dude catches the football, we're having a different conversation. I don't think we're disagreeing on this. I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Avery Johnson's not a polished passer. He's not a polished decision maker. You got lucky, in my opinion, against Colorado going after a freshman DB, and you got lucky in this game. So,
K-State is living dangerously. They have had in multiple weeks against their best opponents. You didn't get the luck of the draw against BYU, because BYU has shown you they have the explosiveness to put you away, and they did. Colorado, if they don't lose Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn, you lose that game. If Kansas can catch a football on defense, you lose that game. And I think when you look at the help that Kansas State has gotten from their opponent, you look at this schedule for Kansas State. I understand if you're going to throw the ball down the field and it gets intercepted, I'm good with that. That throw to the defensive lineman by Avery Johnson is inexcusable. That's not can't throw the football. That's panic mode guy.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially in the arms of the defender. And I cannot believe that he didn't catch that football.
It's not being like as a quarterback, you have to be committed to one or two outcomes in that situation. Hey, if I've got nothing down the field, got to protect the football. And you can't have a turnover in that situation. You can't have that doesn't add up. That doesn't work. So that's what I'm saying. Avery Johnson is immensely talented. He needs someone to develop him mentally, and he needs someone to develop him in the passing game. Because if he was more developed in the passing game, they wouldn't be as run heavy as they are. You look at the running back room, they just rip off 100-yard rushing performances like it's nobody's business because they have to. Because they don't have a choice. That's the only way that they offensively can go out and win a ball game, unless you give them opportunities on defense. If you're again, the Colorado thing is a perfect example of what we're talking about here, right? If you had Travis Hunter at the end of the game there on that wide receiver, he's not throwing the ball there. You're not throwing it to that guy. Just the same way in this game, he wasn't prepared to say, okay, if I'm under pressure and it's hey, throw it or get sacked, I probably should protect the football and take the sack instead of just flicking it randomly.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how the quarterbacks finish this season. This league, I think we've seen certainly with Utah, Oklahoma State. I think certainly those are the best examples. When you don't have a quarterback that's capable of executing at a high level, you're going to lose games. And I think that it'll be interesting. Iowa State coming out of a bye, it'll be really interesting to see how Iowa State handles. I look at this Texas Tech situation. You want to talk about quarterbacks, bros. Baron Morton goes out of the game. And it is remarkable to me just how well Texas Tech handled that situation. Should have won the game. Texas Tech should have beat TCU. It is crazy to me that Will Hammond came into that game and absolutely executed. It was a joy to watch that go down. And yet You just couldn't defend. You could not defend. It is inexplicable to me that Texas Tech lost this game. And it's just another week where I'm asking, when is it time to start talking about Joey McGuire? Because you again, look at the bottom teams in this league. I mean, I think all of us agree that Texas Tech should be far better than they are, but they're not. And I think you start looking at all of this topsy-turviness that has found Oak State and Utah at the bottom of this league. And I look at Texas Tech, all the talent's in place. We were talking about depth here a few minutes ago. How much more offensive depth do you need to see from Texas Tech? Because they've got, there is no quarterback that I was more impressed with this week than Will Hammond. Coming in, doing the job. Now, somebody needs to tell him that when you're running for your life, you probably don't want to cut back to the middle of the defensive line because they're gonna rip your heart out of your chest, which they did. That hit that Will Hammond took, for anybody that saw it, the hit that Will Hammond took in the middle of the defensive line, that's how you shorten your career.
Yeah.
So somebody needs to teach him. But turn around and hand the ball off to Taj Brooks. How tough is it? How difficult is it, Joey, to turn around and hand the ball off to Taj Brooks? And he didn't do it, and they lost the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, for all of the happenings in that game, you know, the clear, you know, and consistent narrative with Texas Tech, and this is not just this year, this is last year, this is, you know, really in Joey's tenure with the team. You know, you have offensive talent, but you can't stop anybody. And 9 days out of 10 with this team, it's not that you don't have the talent defensively to stop people. It's that your play calling's brutal. It's that the schemes and the situations you put your defense in with the talent that is on the field, the personnel, is just not the correct play call. And you see that bleed through the entire program, like what you were just saying. Why wouldn't you, you know, your backups in, run the ball more, right? Like that's an easy football concept to sit here and say, okay, cool, you know, Will's playing well, but let's make sure that we give him as much support as possible. Let's make sure that we open as much windows in the defense as possible by running the football more. And I just, you know, I hate to, you know, and I know you're famous for saying you're not fire the coach guy, but at some point you got to talk about Joey. At some point this team has to get better.
If they go winless down the stretch, and there's a chance, if Barron's hurt, and this, the sad thing is, when it comes to it, he, for those who again didn't see it, he injured his left shoulder. He had x-rays and they came back unclear. There's an injury in there. That's what that means. And unfortunately, as impressive as Hammond was, he's not Barron Morton.
Mm-hmm.
He's not experienced. He's not a guy that throws the ball all over the field. And they've got Iowa State in Ames on Saturday. Good luck. Colorado in Lubbock, at Oak State. And again, I'll just say Oak State can beat anybody at home. Have they? Not really, but they can. And then West Virginia and Lubbock. And I think there's a real chance they go 1-3. And if Oak State shows up at home, there's a chance they go 0-4. I think the likely outcome is they go 1-3 because I think West Virginia is better than people give them credit for.
Right.
I saw all of the chatter this weekend about firing Neil Brown. I think they're better than people give them credit for, and I think that Texas Tech is in real trouble here. There's a chance they go 1-3 down the stretch, and it is shocking to me how bad. And I know, again, we have a lot of Texas Tech folks on this show that say that Joey McGuire has the support of the boosters and the administration. If you go 0-4 down the stretch here, if you go 2-4 down the stretch here, because you look at what's left for them, they have got, if you go back to North Texas, and I guess you can, but I would go back to conference play, Arizona State, Cincinnati, and Arizona. You start conference play 3-0. And now you've lost back-to-back games against in-state rivals in Baylor and TCU. And now you got to go to Ames. That's not good. And if you're a Texas Tech fan, How on earth do I have a booster at USC this weekend telling me that they have $100 million war chest to fire Lincoln Riley with? Because you understand that Lincoln Riley has $90 million left on his contract. That SC boosters have raised $100 million to fire Lincoln Riley. And we're trying to somehow tell a story to keep Joey Maguire in Lubbock. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy.
I think that SC has national championship expectations, and they haven't been that team in quite some time, and they're definitely not that team right now, in my opinion. I think, you
certainly not.
The LSU win was awesome, and I was really excited about SC, and they just simply have come back to earth. They, and now I think if you're looking at an SC game, like, you can count on missed tackles. You can count on bad mistakes defensively, and you can count on them, trying to throw their way to a victory with a quarterback, in my opinion, who just isn't that guy. That's not who he is.
I thought he was that guy this weekend. I watched a lot of SC, the Rutgers SC game. Rutgers is no easy opponent, and I'm telling you, Miller Moss looked great. I actually thought they ran the ball well, and here nor there, it doesn't matter. You can't be a 500 football team at SC and keep your job. And Joey Maguire, I don't know how you're looking any other where. And then before we get to your comments here on the Monty Show, Coach Prime, he's bowl eligible, and it's not like he's accidentally bowl eligible. I don't know what they are feeding the folks in Boulder. But you look at how Deion Sanders has turned this team around, and you beat a really solid Cincinnati team comfortably. That game was never in doubt. Now, they're another team just like BYU that's got to learn to close games. But that game was never in doubt, and it was another is virtuoso performance strong? It probably is. Shedeur Sanders is absolutely dominating. And you look at Travis Hunter. Do you guys understand he had 9 catches for 153 yards and 2 scores? And then you start looking at the fact that they're throwing at him. He had 4 pass defenses in that game. Travis Hunter did. And then you start understanding that he is the best player in college football in Travis Hunter. Dominating. Absolutely dominating. Did I mention? And Colorado fans in the comments section lost their minds over this. Florida State over the weekend lost a guy that is a 4-star commit. This is their 5th recruit in the last 6 weeks to pull their commitment to Florida State. And Florida State doesn't look willing. They don't look like they really want to play football. They were never in danger of winning the game. Tell me again that I'm the nut job who thinks that Deion Sanders is going to get a call from Florida State.
Yeah, I mean, that game went pretty much exactly how we thought it would go. You weren't in that game, and Miami's just simply better than you, more talented than you. And yeah, I mean, if I'm Florida State, I don't think, why would you not call Prime? How do you not call Deion Sanders? How do you choose not to do that?
You threw for 115 yards.
Yeah, it's just not competitive. Like, it's not.
Are you out of your mind? You threw for 115 yards. Real quick on Cam Ward while we're talking about Miami. Did you guys see the post-game interview he gave? Where they asked him about the Heisman Trophy, and he said, I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. I'm worried about winning games for this team. All of the haters on the Palouse and anybody that has questioned Cam Ward, this cat's doing the job. Like, the way that he and Damian Martinez have made over that offense, and they're wildly impressive to me at Miami. And this was the game, I think we even talked about this last week. This was a game that Mario Cristobal was supposed to lose, as he does every single year. Mario Cristobal finds a way at Oregon or finds a way at Miami the last couple of years to just throw a game away that they should have won. That's not what happened here. They dominated. They physically intimidated Florida State.
And again, look no further than how you went about offensively winning this game. What did you need to do to win the game? Well, you didn't need to throw for 400 yards. You didn't need to have some iconic Cam Ward performance, even though he was good in this game. What did you do? You just turned around and handed off, and you ran for 10 yards carry. It's just not that difficult. And I think that, again, the ACC is a very straightforward proposition, which is another reason I think Florida State should be calling Deion Sanders. The ACC is not a deep conference. The ACC is not difficult to win. Like, you need to recruit and just execute your game plan, and you're going to dominate that conference, which is why I say, like, if I'm Cam Ward, it's great to hear him say that, but I'd probably be saying the same thing. Are you not focused on going out and dominating this conference the rest of the way and getting into the college football playoff with the highest seed possible with where you're at in your season here? I mean, you're sitting nice right now, man. You're on a really good trajectory as far as the playoff is concerned.
And another school that's got nice deep booster pockets, Florida State. Because Norvell, I was reading yesterday, Norvell's got a pretty ironclad contract. And if you want to buy him out, and I want to make sure I get this right, you would owe him $63.7 million. So that's a lot of money. And it is the third largest buyout in the country behind Lincoln Riley, which would be the largest buyout in the history of college football. Not even Jimbo Fisher's getting $90 million. But it would be the second largest buyout only to Kirby Smart. So Lincoln's got number one, Kirby's number two, and Mike Norvell's number three. And the folks at Florida State are like, yeah, we got this. We've got that. Like, you're so willing not to put that money into the lawsuit against the ACC to get rid of Mike Norvell, which is, there's some ultimate irony there. Let's be honest. The karma gods coming back around at Florida State, which, yeah, we'll see. I think I have real doubts as to whether or not Deion Sanders would pull up and leave Boulder, but it does kind of line up.
Well, this is the offseason. He would do it if he was going to do it. I mean, you're not like, so obviously Shedeur, Travis are both leaving for the NFL draft. That's pretty much a given. It would be shocking if they did not. And, so this would be the year, because if he stays another year, you got to be all in. If you're going to stay a year after Shedeur leaves and Travis leaves, now you're going to rebuild that recruiting pool and you're going to keep advancing that program forward. So if you're FSU, I'm telling you have to make the call this season or don't worry about it, next year. Like, that doesn't make sense.
But again, I'll just say, if Florida State calls Deion Sanders and says, do you want to be the next football coach at Florida State? I'll cut off his other toes if he says no. That was probably too much. My point is, you went to Florida State. You are a Florida State dude. How do you say no to Florida State if you're Deion Sanders? Can you blame him? If he says I'm leaving, can you blame him?
Well, no. I mean, you can't blame him. And I think whether it's his connection to Florida State, whether it's the fact that, again, I know that Colorado has access to the college football playoff, but with all due respect, at Florida State, it's a much, straighter path to getting in. And, I also think that football in the state of Florida is way bigger than football in the state of Colorado. And I think that, again, you thought there was a lot of hype at Colorado with Prime. Whew. A reunion at Florida State would be a whole nother level of insanity, if you will.
Because if you look at, and I think this is where all my Texans and all my Floridians, you guys need to come to the front here. Look at the trajectory of football in Texas and the trajectory of football in Florida. Traditionally, two of the biggest powerhouses for skill position talent in this country. Is Texas football in a better place than Florida football? Not really. Not really. Because you've got the Texas Longhorns phenomenal football team who I think is being disrespected, but that's just me. And you've got the Miami Hurricanes, who are going to have to every week prove that they're who we think they are. But how bad is Florida State? And how bad is the University of Florida? And how bad has UCF been this year? And how bad is TCU? And how bad is Baylor? And how bad is Texas Tech? Like, there's going to be change. You can't tell me that Florida's not making a change. You can't tell me that Gus Malzahn's not looking over his shoulder. And you can't tell me that Mike Norvell's not on the hot seat. And Joey and Spike Dykes' kid and 8-Ball and Waco, there's going to be big-time change. I think there's going to be...
should be.
Yes, I think there's going to be 10 big-time jobs open this offseason, and I think Deion Sanders is going to get a call from at least half of those schools. At least half. I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he'd leave Colorado to go anywhere else in the Big 12. I think he would leave to go to Florida State.
And I would agree. I think that he's built something solid, I would say. At Colorado, we need to see just how far they take it this year. I mean, if they can get to, 8 wins, 9 wins, okay, that's a different conversation than 6, 7 wins. I mean, that I know that's only 1 or 2 more wins, but in the grand scheme of things, on how the perception of a program is very different at 8 or 9 wins than it is at 6 or 7 wins. And so obviously, I respect what Deion's built. I know that he does it differently. I know that it's way more in your face than a lot of other head coaches, and his style. And
a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like it, and it's different. And I totally understand why that may rub some people the wrong way. But the reality is, you can't any longer say that he's a terrible head coach, or he sucks, or he's just
a fraud.
He's
a fraud, Marty.
You can't.
Come on now.
You can't say that.
No. Not at all. And real quick, I'm just going to put this up here because there's some ridiculousness in this. This is the AP poll, obviously. Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, who we're going to talk about in a second. Okay, totally get it. I have a lot of concerns about that offensive line at Ohio State.
Agreed.
Miami, you're putting Texas behind Miami? You're putting Notre Dame in front of a BYU, and you're putting Iowa State. Iowa State's not one of the 10 best teams in the country. Get it? They didn't play this week. They're not one of the 10 best teams in the country. You're putting Indiana ahead of Alabama. Did you guys see Alabama this week? Are you out of your mind? You're putting Boise State at 15th. In what was one of the best wins of the football season. I don't know how many people like me stayed up and did not sleep watching UNLV and Boise State in front of, what was that, 45,000 people at Allegiant on Friday night.
Yeah.
And UNLV doing stellar work against Ashton Ginty, and it didn't matter because Boise State's a better team than you are. This is kind of ridiculous to me that LSU is still in the top 20. Hey, I've warned you about Brian Kelly, my friends. I've warned you that it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I just don't think
that Colorado is behind Washington State and Army.
Yeah.
And the reason I point to some of these teams, the disrespect of the Big 12 in the top AP top 25 is remarkable. That I feel like BYU is undervalued here. I'd have BYU ahead of Notre Dame. And my question is, where's the logic in Notre Dame being 8th? They beat Texas A&M, who you say is 10 now. And so they're only 8th because they lost to NIU? Is that what we're saying? Well, they lost to NIU. BYU's resume is far better than Notre Dame's resume. Far better. And yet BYU is behind. And for all the jackwagons, and I'm talking to you, Brett McMurphy, that have yet BYU, like AP voters, I don't get it. Do you watch football? Do you watch football?
I mean, I don't think it's any secret that they don't, they're not watching football. They're not watching enough like BYU football. They're not watching enough, of the teams lower in their rankings. I think I would agree that it is kind of funny that BYU's undefeated, man. Like, and again, we talked so much about it last week. Like, that's your hammer if you're BYU. You're undefeated. You haven't lost a football game this year, and you're seeing the bias against BYU as far as people just simply not watching them. Because if you watch them, then you're going to see, okay, hey, this is a pretty good football team. But the problem is that A&M's playing LSU on national television. A&M's playing, Notre Dame's playing national television every single week that everyone tunes into. And so what happens is these writers come out here and they watch Notre Dame and they're like, oh, well, Notre Dame dominated this week. They look really good. They're playing good football. But BYU's undefeated. So let's just make sure Notre Dame's right ahead of them.
But look at Brett McMurphy's. This is his top 15. Anybody want to explain to me how you have Notre Dame at 12 and who's ahead of Notre Dame? Texas A&M at 11. Do you watch football? And I like Brett a lot. How do you have Texas A&M, who Notre Dame beat? How do you have Texas A&M ahead of Notre Dame in your poll? How? I'm here for the conversation. How do you justify this? How do you have BYU behind Iowa State? Who's got a better resume? BYU by far, in my opinion, has a better resume. This is what's wrong with college football.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me crazy that soccer writer guy still doesn't respect BYU, who went to UCF and dominated. Oh, you didn't watch the game.
Yeah,
That's what that tells me.
I think the hard part with Notre Dame and A&M is that, number one, obviously people just I legitimately think people have just forgotten about A&M's loss to Notre Dame to start the year. Obviously, because if you didn't forget about it, you wouldn't have
lose
A&M,
early.
Right. And that's what we
Lose
talk
early.
about that all the time, right? If you lose early, it's not as big a deal. So I think that people have just simply said, hey, A&M is not the same team they were or something. They're telling themselves a story about A&M.
But wasn't everybody's All-American Navy and Army?
Yeah.
BYU absolutely, no reach arounds, dude. 51-14, they dominated Navy.
Yeah, Notre Dame crushed them.
Dominated. Just dominated Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're behind Texas A&M. They're 12th in the country. Yeah, that Notre Dame team's 12th in the country. What are you, man? That'd be like playing anything more than 3 on a flex play in Prize Picks. Now, listen, you guys, I love that you're sending me your Prize Picks. I was talking to Jimmy on Instagram. Jimbo, I can't remember it's like Jimbo Wins 69 or some stupid name like that. He sends me like a 7-pick thing on Prize Picks. Did he flex play it? No. Straight up. Did he win? No. He won 5 of the 7. Had you flex played it, would you have won?
Oh, I win. Google me.
You would have won. If you trust me on Prize Picks. Domination in NBA Prize Picks over the weekend. Domination. And again, you can all hate me because I get it. I get it. Anybody see the Lakers? That'd be the Los Angeles Lakers of Los Angeles, Southern California and stuff. I don't know who's paying attention to Los Lakers. They're 3-0. Has Bronny played a single minute since opening night? Nope. You know why? Because they're looking for bodies. And I will say right now, after 3 games on October 28th, and I'll probably wind up looking like a dickhead, Anthony Davis is an MVP candidate. Because that dude
looks healthy.
Is winning me bread on Prize Picks.
Yeah.
You want a points, rebounds, assists machine? Anthony Davis, Los Angeles Lakers. Points, rebounds, and assists. And I would also like to... No, I'm not ready to talk about the Bears yet. I'm not ready. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. When you open a new Prize Picks account, you deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more instantly. You open a new Prize Picks account, deposit $5, they'll give you $50 more. It's that simple. It's the best daily fantasy promotion I think I have ever seen. Now, I was sitting here this morning, had nice hot shower, sitting at the desk at 4:45 this morning, and there is some really delectable Prize Picks to get into. So coming up in about 30 minutes, let's do that. I want to get to your comments because I see we have already over 700 comments this morning. Make sure you hit the like button. That really helps the channel grow. Let's see. First one in today, Eric Wasikowski. Y'all see the 50 baller in Detroit. I don't even know what that means. I'm not as hip as you. You know. Maury Alvarez, $4.99. BYU had 40% of the fan attendance. It was UCF's homecoming game. I heard a UCF fan complain that he didn't realize it was a BYU home game. Absolute dominant showing. And if you didn't see the game, like an entire end of the stadium was completely royal blue.
Yeah, BYU doesn't recruit in Florida, dude. That's all lies.
It was one of the most dominant road traveling fan bases I've ever seen. Kalani Sitake had 36 tickets out. Just 36 tickets. Like, it was amazing. What an unbelievable Saturday for BYU. Maury, happy for you, dude. Maury went to the game. BYU fan, way to go. Big Blue Horses, 1 year already. Wow, thanks, guys. Go Gators. Big Blue Horses, a member for 12 months.
Nice job.
Big Blue Horses, you better hope Florida State doesn't get prime. Because if Deion Sanders goes to Florida State, we're never going to hear the end of it from Florida State fan. You guys think Utah fan is miserable, and they are. Florida State fan is far worse. It's far worse. D-Rock Irish, laugh, but we are at 8. Yeah. And this is the plight of Notre Dame every year. And I don't even want to say his name. I give our head coach of the Beloved a lot of credit because seemingly Notre Dame's going in the right direction. And with Florida State, Virginia, Army, and USC. USC is going to be a tough game. Because USC at the Coliseum is still very formidable.
And I think what we just did right there is what a lot of the writers do, right? If you look at their schedule and you look at where the loss was, the writers are saying, oh, well, they've ripped off, I think it's 6 in a row or whatever it is, 7 in a row or whatever it is now. You know, like oh, BYU's heading, or Notre Dame's heading in the right direction.
And their last 3 have been in dominant fashion. Our defense is balling out, even with 2 critical losses on defense to injury. Football hurts. Our defense is still dominating. And you look at what's ahead. Florida State, that game is at the stadium. You're not winning that game. Virginia is at the stadium. Virginia's not coming in at 4-4 and winning that game, although NIU did. And then Army on November 23rd. That game's at Yankee Stadium. That's going to be a massive Notre Dame crowd. Massive crowd. You're going to have a stadium where the Yankees will have won the World Series. That's a lie. And then Notre Dame's going to come in, and they're going to sweep the academies. And then you're going to head to Los Angeles to play at the Coliseum. And
where you're going to get Lincoln fired.
Is that where your season goes to die? We'll find out. But yeah, D-Rock, we're number 8 in the country right now. So YouTube user Salty Virginia Peanuts. Okay. Manchester United fired their manager. Wow, how about that? Can't do it, Steve. Notre Dame beat A&M at their place. You can't. Yeah. Mountain Mama. Mike, are you fire Neil Brown or are you keep Neil Brown? I think that is not as clear cut as it was a year ago. In really 2 years ago now, because last year they had a solid season. I don't know. Notre Dame always gets ranked higher than they should be. Don't disagree with that. 100%. I am For me, I think it'll be interesting. Let's see. Who else? Elaine Tran, I miss my Indiana fever. Okay.
All right.
Okay. YouTube user Salty Virginia Peanuts, D-Rock Irish. See what he did there? D-Rock.
Right. Watch the
D-Rock
emojis, bro.
Boyd Lake, I want to know what's the real problem at Utah? Well, you can't score points. I think the real issue is very simply quarterback. Obviously, this weekend you saw 2 quarterbacks play at Utah, and Utah's just not very good offensively. And I think it is that defense is still dominant, and you have not been able to score points. It's not rocket science. I think Utah, Oklahoma State, obviously, like you have a lot of teams in this league right now that are just irrelevant. I mean, quite literally, what is there to talk about?
Nothing.
With Utah?
Nothing. There's not a conversation.
Nothing.
There's not, oh, well, you can feel good about this. No. And I'm that guy. I like to look at the positives even when it's overly negative. I like to say, okay, well, hey, your offense is terrible. Like you're just not good enough. And you have a really good defense. And I think that, it's surprise. I think people are just surprised that the fall off has been so quick after this Cam situation kind of got put to bed. Like Cam goes down, it's over. There was supposed to be momentum and nothing happened.
And Isaac Wilson's been not good.
Yeah. So what's there
to talk about?
Yeah. There's nothing to talk about. What's the problem? The problem is your season's over and we'll see what you got next year. That's the problem.
And Utah fan, I totally get it. I see you in the comments section being that we didn't preview the game last week. What am I supposed to preview? And one of my favorite Utah fans coming in, talking about how we've given up. It's not that we've given up. We cover the biggest games on the show. Utah, your season's over.
You're 1-4 in conference, bro. It's over.
There's nothing left there. Mike Smith, not a Mormon Catholic. You're Catholic? You are not Catholic. Stop. Ahmad El Mabashir, are you really Catholic? That's shocking to me. I like Brett's ballot more than the one overall one. Well, look, I look at Brett McMurphy's ballot and make it make sense. Make it make sense here. Make it make sense that we are looking at a scenario where you have Notre Dame at 12. Is Notre Dame the 12th best team in the country? And they should be ranked behind Texas A&M, who they beat at Kyle Field. That doesn't add up to me. That one, I think having Pitt and Clemson, all right, but are you telling me Clemson's the 13th best team in the country? If that's the case, the ACC is in a lot of trouble.
Well, the other thing I noticed here is he's got Iowa State ahead of BYU, even though, obviously Iowa State, was idle or whatever on bye. So like clearly Brett puts more favorability into being undefeated and being, undefeated. And, you look at his poll and, again, A&M being behind 2 Big 12 teams at that ranking, I think tells you how Brett McMurphy looks at college football.
How is BYU behind Iowa State?
Yeah. Don't know.
They're both undefeated. Iowa State was on a bye. BYU dominated. How are you behind it? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And as far as the full-on poll, again, you can question this. At least BYU is in the top 10 on this one. At least you look at, is Indiana for real? Is Indiana football legit? You have to say they're legit. Their attendance, I don't know how they don't break their attendance record this year in football. But you got to play a quality opponent at some point. And I look at Indiana. And again, everybody's going to say you're a hater. Okay, fine, I'll be a hater. Indiana's not a traditional football powerhouse. So I look at Indiana 5-0 in the conference against Washington, Nebraska, Northwestern, and Maryland. And then their 5th win was UCLA. And am I supposed to believe, Look at Nebraska this weekend. You got absolutely dominated by that Ohio State defense. That is, and again, if you didn't see the game, Ohio State absolutely dominated Nebraska with their defense. That's one of the best defensive performances I have seen all year in college football. Just absolutely dominant by Ohio State. Now, the offensive line, that's a different story. But do we really believe that those are big quality wins? I think Jed Fish is in rebuilding mode at Washington. You've got at Michigan State, Michigan. At Ohio State, Purdue. So what if they lose to Ohio State? Are they going to the college football playoff? Are you, as a one-loss team, I would have to think at this point, are we not on course for Oregon and Penn State to play for the Big Ten championship?
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Although Oregon has at Michigan, Maryland, at Wisconsin, and Washington. And I actually thought Wisconsin, I mean, that Wisconsin loss to Penn State was incredibly disappointing. Incredibly disappointing. I
mean, I think the Big Ten's always been a conference that, we've talked about it for years. I mean, it's hard to say whether Indiana's legitimate or not because it's your first time being good. And since I've been alive, like legitimately. Yeah,
I would agree with that. Mayor McCluskey, good morning to you. Elaine Tran, Colorado going to pony up to keep a Coach Prime. Do you have enough money if Florida State calls? Who can blame Deion Sanders for going to Florida State if they offer them that job? Nobody. Come on. Geoff, writing in Kalani Sitake on my ballot in a couple of weeks. For president? Come on, man. Tanner Plummer, sup, Mayor. Sup, Tanner. Sup. That's short for all of you who don't know. It's what's up.
It's Cool Kids Club.
Sup.
Yeah.
It's just you put them together. Yeah. D-Rock. And Army is currently ranked 2. They are. And we'll see. A lot of football left to be played. I agree. Big Daddy Magic. Hey, player. Victor will win the award before Anthony Davis. Okay.
Victor's the way.
I know the owner of Wise Guys. Do you want me to book you for stand-up comedy? Team Anthony Davis winning the MVP? Okay. That's fine. RJC man, keep Brown. Mike Smith, fire Neil Brown. So you are team fire Neil Brown. He has had more than enough time to help turn the program around. One good season and buyout money kept him. Well, there you go. Mayor McCluskey, LOL Utah, their O-line is garbage. You don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
You don't have a quarterback, in my opinion. But here's what it is. You want to know how far Utah's fallen? Do you know where you had to go to watch their game this weekend? ESPN Plus. Their game was not on television. You could only get it at ESPN Plus. That's wild. Big Blue Horses. I wouldn't be surprised to see Coach Prime in Big D in Jerry's world. He's not an NFL head coach, and I don't think he wants to be. Loner Phone says Pitt wants Brown to stay. I'm sure they do. Let's see. Midweek Coug. It shows the preseason polls for conferences, especially the Big 12, is hurting them. There could definitely be some of that. I mean, you could not have been more wrong in prognosticating the Big 12 this year. There's no way you would have. If you look at the standings now, there's just no way that anybody would have had it be BYU, Iowa State, K-State, Colorado 4th, TCU, Texas Tech, and both those teams are 3-2. And at the bottom, you have Oklahoma State. You guys understand that Oklahoma State has not won a conference game. Oak State is 0-5. Kansas 1-4. UCF 1-4. UCF was picked by a lot of people to finish second in this league. Utah 1-4. Arizona, Arizona's the one where I think we all agreed on the show. What was the filleting of Arizona?
We had people preseason polling that they were going to be second in the conference.
Winning the conference. They got votes to win the conference, which is crazy to me. I mean, you can understand it with Oak State being picked to win the conference or Utah being picked to win the conference. Like, you understand that. Arizona winning that was crazy.
Yeah.
But you look at how topsy-turvy this league has been this year. Nobody's picking BYU and Iowa State to both be the undefeated teams in the league. Nobody had we were talking about BYU just getting bowl eligible. And they are more than bowl eligible. They're 8-0. And that includes 4 on the road. They're 4-0 on the road. 8-0. And they're in the driver's seat to win this conference right now. Because I'll remind you, they don't play Iowa State. And the only way they would play Iowa State would be Big 12 championship game.
Right. So
we'll see. Number 2 is coming for BYU in 2 weeks. Beat Utah. What is BYU's weakness? And I've already spent a lot of time looking at how the two teams match up. If you run the ball on BYU, you will win the game. You will win the game. But the question is, when you don't have a quarterback and the quarterbacks you do run throw interceptions, BYU is going to beat you. BYU is going to beat you. They're not great against the run. But, man, you throw the ball up for grabs, BYU will not only intercept it, they'll take it home. And I think it is going to be there's too much time to prognosticate close game blowout. There's too much that's going to happen over these next 2 weeks. We need to see some injury report. We need to see, what is this week going to be like in the bye week for BYU? Like, we need to see a little more, and we need to understand where is Utah after a 4-game losing streak mentally is this the game that saves their season?
Well, I think, for Utah, I would agree the mental side of it's the most important piece of the conversation for them. The O-line's not going to magically get way better. The quarterback room's not going to magically get way better. Like, we know who this team is, but what can get better is the want to and frankly, the desire to beat the guy in front of you. Because that's what I think one of the biggest differences with Utah is this year. That offensive line, there are some times where you're like, yeah, they ain't got a lot of want to right now. There's not a lot of, hey, we believe we can beat the guy across the line from us. And right. If you're Utah, I think that you this is the last positive thing you can capture this season. Obviously a lost season, but if you win the Holy War, you can say, well, yeah, we didn't win the Big 12, underachieved in our first year, but we still beat those boys down south. That's what they're playing for. And, that's very powerful. Yeah. So, and if you don't live in Utah and you don't understand the dynamic, that's a driving force. Kyle Whittingham, I'm telling you, will be damned if he loses to BYU. He's not going to sit here and just do nothing. He's not going to sit here and just roll over and get blown out on his home field by BYU in the first Holy War that's been played in a minute.
But I also think Utah made a huge mistake in yanking Isaac Wilson out of that game. That's a mistake. I mean, that's your dude. That's a true freshman quarterback. So we'll see. There's, like I said, there's a lot to filter through. You just got beat by Houston on a game-winning field goal. Are we really? This is your Super Bowl. So there's a lot of time to go. Mike Smith, I'm sure Pitt fans would help pay Neal's wages to keep him at West Virginia. I'm sure they would. Tanner, all the Utah fans are in hiding now. Oh, I don't think they're in hiding. And trust me, if you lose at Utah, dude, you are not going to have enough places to hide. You're not. Being 8-1 is a disaster if you are BYU. You get that, right? What we are heading for in the state of Utah, if you are 8-1, dig a hole in the ground. And remember when we were kids, we were all digging down to China? Keep digging until you find China. Don't stop. If you lose to Utah, dude, you can't. You cannot even My goodness. Caruso is mid-McCluskey. What do you mean there is nothing positive about talking about Utah? This is fantastic. What is happening to them? I know you are. I know you guys are stoked. No, you are Catholic and pointing it out that you are not Mormon. I pretty much despise most organized religions. I just play nice here. Truth. I am not Catholic, by the way. I don't know who said I was Catholic. I am a fan of Notre Dame. I grew up Catholic. I am now a recovering Catholic. Hey, man, I was an altar boy in church. So, you know. Force goes Fabio. Utah has become Brady Hoke, San Diego. So what the fuck is Oklahoma State then? This is the guy that I love because the thing I admire so much about Oak State idiots is that you guys who are ripping Utah, Oak State fans, you haven't won a game in the conference. You should be silent. You shouldn't say two words. And the best part about Utah and the worst part about Utah is their fans, specifically their fans on social media. The best part about Utah is that Oak State fans are so bad that they are happy that Utah is bad. That's the part that I love. And so every morning when we show up here, you get guys like Forrest Ghost Fabio only talking about Utah because he does not want to talk about Oak State. So it's cool. If you're a BYU fan, you should be talking about Utah. If you're an Oak State fan, dude, you should be in a convent somewhere becoming a nun.
Yeah, you should be talking about who your next head coach is going to be.
I mean, seriously. Tanner, Marty, I think the Catholic, not Mormon comment came from Mike Smith was a reference to you. Okay. That's fine. UW fan Jim, a member for 15 months.
Good job, Jim.
I'm not talking about Rome. Indiana looked damn good to me against who? Yeah, and as a Washington fan, I'm sure they did. Salty Virginia Peanuts. IU is coached by Signetti. A bunch of JMU players came with him. JMU did nothing but win. Yeah. Kirk Signetti's a good coach. Google him. You know.
Yeah. But again, same deal, right? If you
I
lose,
win. Google me.
I'm not going to Google you. Your arrogance is going to look like foolishness.
It is. I would agree. Dev MC, good morning. Got free tickets to Oak State game this weekend. Never been so unexcited to be at BPS. But notice that Dev MC is not ripping Utah fan. You know. Jay McClanahan. Utah will be on PBS next weekend teaching what not to do as a football team. Truth.
Educational.
Brandon Butler, as a Utah supporter, I'm terrified Kyle walks away at the end of the season, and we could be witnessing the end of Utah football as we know it. Perhaps I am an alarmist. Well, I don't know. I think it is. We've heard for 5 years that Kyle's about to retire. It would be a shame if it ended like this. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. Kyle Whittingham's not young. And the sad thing is, I am not a Morgan Scalley as a head coach believer. I think Morgan's a phenomenal defensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator at Utah. What has he proven to be your next head coach? I'm hoping he proves he's going to go out and recruit quarterbacks. I'm hoping that he goes in. If Kyle Whittingham retires, you should rip this entire football program apart. Take it down to the studs and rebuild it. Because offensively, you're a mess. I'd be out trying to find the best 5-star quarterback who will take my money. And three offensive linemen. Because I think it's a scheme problem. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's a talent problem. They clearly run the football well. That Isaac Wilson throw and touchdown run by Brant Keithy was a thing of beauty. But you just have these lapses on offense where you can't understand it. It makes no sense. So, Eric and Raleigh, Mike Gundy, he's a man. He's 0-4.
Yep.
It's wild to me that Oak State fan, I think Utah fan has deserved and earned all of the heat they're getting. Like the Utah fan on social media is detestable. It's again why I don't read my let's play the daily Monty game. How many notifications do I have on Twitter? Because I don't read them. 600 plus notifications on Twitter. Anybody want to guess how many of them are probably I don't know. I'm probably just being a
lot.
jerk. But it's why I don't enjoy X, because it's just a wasteland of ridiculousness. Right? So Utah fan has earned every single ounce of the hate that they are getting right now. Every single ounce of it. Mike Smith, Aranda doing better than Gundy and Malzahn. Crazy freaking year. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's
Mike,
done enough to stay another year. He's not getting fired.
Would you fire Joey McGuire? I think you at least got it. I mean, you look at the teams that are struggling in this league. You're never going to fire Kyle Whittingham. Are you going to make systematic changes in Stillwater? Like, their offense is incredibly bad.
I have to think that the coordinators get whacked. And notice I said coordinators.
But is Mike Gundy going to do that?
No, but he'll be forced to do it. They will make him do it, in my opinion. I think that
Yeah.
you can't. It's no longer acceptable to be, underachieving to this level. When you talk about money and NIL and sponsorship in the program, like, it's got to be. You have to be at a certain level, and they're just not.
I am not a guy who sees a lot of gray area in coaches. I think if I say a coach's name to you, Dave Aranda, Neil Brown, Sonny Dykes at TCU, Joey McGuire, I'd fire all of them. You're going in the wrong direction. When you have Gus Malzahn, how do you have that caliber of running game and you can't throw the football? How? That's incredible. Like, do you guys understand? And I know we have a lot of BYU fans in the comment section. Does it not concern you at all that RJ Harvey had 127 yards on only 16 carries?
After Ollie Gordon did what he did.
That's 8 yards a carry, friends. After what Ollie Gordon did. I think that's a great point. He had that 54-yard run was like, are we going to tackle this dude?
Let's be really clear about the 54-yard run. Not only did you not tackle RJ on that play, he outran your ass up the sideline. Your angles weren't great on that play. Like, the idea that a running back is able to outrun you down the boundary to get to the end zone, that's as a defense that specific play, it's unacceptable to allow that to happen. I understand, 20, 30 yards, hey, safety's got to take an angle. Totally get it.
Go back to the Chase Roberts touchdown. How critical was that play? Because you were starting to wonder where this game was going. And then the Chase Roberts touchdown pretty much ended the game. But I think BYU's got to clean up the run, because if there's one thing that Utah offense does well, Mekhi Bernard's a stud. He can run the football. Elaine Tran, fire Aranda. UCF ran the ball well, and they still lost. They did, because he can't pass it. He could not pass it. Glasgow is so good. Caruso, UCF couldn't run the ball against BYU. Did you watch the same game I watched? They couldn't run the ball. I think they ran the ball quite well. Quite well. UCF just had just under 200 yards rushing. Yeah, they did. UCF ran the ball for 181 yards and averaged 6.2 yards a carry. That's not good. Just so you know, 6.2 yards. Anything over 4.5 yards is elite. 6.2 yards is a lot. They only threw for 198 yards. So, and when Risk came in, how much better did the offense look with Dylan Risk in the game for UCF? I'm going to say a lot. It's a great win. Don't get me wrong. You're 8-0. You did your job. But there are definitely some things to look at in this BYU performance and say, and I'm going to go back to Aaron Roderick, and I know we disagree on this. You've got to have more balance. You've got to have more consistent running. And I think, and I'm not trying to be a negative Nathan here, but if you don't get that Chase Roberts touchdown, how different does the end of the first half and early third quarter look without the Chase Roberts touchdown?
That's a fair point. It's a fair point. Looks a lot different. Game feels a lot different. Game's going in a different direction.
I would. It's going in a different direction.
You know,
I would agree.
I think that I don't know. I would agree that if you ran the football more, your offense would be smoother. It would be, more effective. The wide receiver room would be more open. Like it running the football effectively just changes the way you can go about using the playbook. I think that sometimes what BYU struggles with as it comes to, running versus passing is like, I look at LJ specifically. I mean, the guy's out here running for 6.5 yards a carry and 100 yards. So part of that issue is that you're seeing success with LJ to a point where, hey, you're running down the field on these guys. And I think that that's part of what kind of leads them to not call as many runs. But I would agree that like in the third quarter, we're like halfway through the third quarter. And I'm like, dude, you guys are like 3rd and 3 every time because you're running it effectively on first down. Just keep running it. Just keep road grading this team and rip off like a 8-9 minute possession down the field. Because again, we're not getting a ton of like huge returns in special teams. So you're able to start at the 20 or the 25 and you can just road grade them down the field. But again, Aaron didn't do that. So against better teams, they're going to have to do that. And I think that's more the takeaway is that when you get down, like if you're able to get to the Big 12 championship game, you're not going to be able to win the Big 12 championship game with this kind of rushing performance. It will have to be better.
And it is because I think play calling is my single biggest issue on offense at BYU. Defense is great, no problem. I think they're in the right place. We're not getting rush 3, drop 26 anymore. Like BYU's defense is in a much better place. I think when we're talking about their offense, Aaron Rodgers, I am not a huge fan of the way he calls games. I'm not. Stephen Keel, where's all the Penn State talk now? Beginning of the year, you thought they were mid. Oh, well, we don't generally get excited about people that foster, assault and sexual assault on minors.
It's only a matter of time.
It's
today,
not.
man.
It's not generally a place where we go. And then Friday, all the Penn State fans in the comments section that got all upset that we were making too much out of it, and that James Franklin, because my biggest issue Friday with Penn State was James Franklin was a coward, and he ran from the comments, and he ran from commenting. And all I said was, James Franklin should say, hey, I can't talk about it. It's an ongoing criminal investigation. I understand why you're asking it. If you have questions about Wisconsin, I'm happy to take them. What did James Franklin say? And let me play the first one. Here's James Franklin last Wednesday.
What are we doing? This is obviously a serious and sensitive subject. I know Greg read that, but we haven't heard anything from you on this.
John, we released the university statement. All right, do I need to read the statement again?
If you would like.
All right. Regarding the 2 former Penn State football players, we released a statement yesterday, and our program and athletic department will have no further comment. If you need the statement, please reach out to me or Chris.
Hey guys, any questions?
James, at what point in the summer were you aware that these guys were not going to be on the team?
So I said that was Bush League. And all of you Penn State fans came in and said, Marty, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. James, any thoughts on how you handled yourself Wednesday?
I didn't do a great job of handling Wednesday. Difficult situation. And I got to own that I did not do a good job of that. So I understand you guys got a job to do. You got to ask those questions, and I respect that. The university put out a statement, and the reality is, I think there's not a whole lot more I can say other than that statement. It's an ongoing legal situation, and it's challenging. It's challenging on everybody. So at the end of the day, I did not do a good job of handling that situation and representing this program the right way. So I want to take a minute and apologize for that.
No, go ahead. You guys.
Remember, we're the asshole haters, so we'll let you guys.
I mean, Marty, what was he supposed to say? What he was supposed to say is, I'm a degenerate football coach who fosters an atmosphere at multiple universities of sexual assault, and then I tell kids not to go to the authorities. That's what he should have said. We don't talk about Penn State because Penn State doesn't deserve to be talked about. Penn State shouldn't be playing football. Because, again, here's a football coach you hired after the Paterno situation. You knew you had to get it right. So you hired a guy from Vanderbilt and James Franklin, who what happens almost immediately? He finds himself in the middle of a sexual assault case at Vanderbilt while he's the head coach at Penn State. So what does he do? He has this situation with Micah Parsons in the locker room. Oh. And another player getting naked and rolling around on top of other players who weren't welcoming and didn't want to be rolled on top of by a large human while he was naked.
I think the terminology was gyrated on.
Gyrating on top of people who didn't want you to gyrate on top of them. And then having issues where you're intimidating and threatening people in the showers. And then to the point where the kid brought a knife that you were intimidating and rolling on top of. He brought a knife. You took it from him and threatened him with it. Then when that kid went to James Franklin, allegedly James Franklin had him get in his car, into James Franklin's car in the parking lot. The kid gets in, and he allegedly tells the kid, don't go to the police. It's Micah Parsons, our best player. Oh, and then on top of that, 2 more of your kids were arrested last week for sexually assaulting a 17-year-old, and they didn't deny it. But we should talk Penn State football. We shouldn't, because they should never play another football game at Penn State.
And I can't wait for all the excuses for James.
It's not good enough.
Quick question. Why is it that he came out and apologized if there's nothing going on here? If there's no smoke, no issue, why has he come out and apologized? Oh, that's right, because everybody knows that it's not the media guy's responsibility to issue the statement. It's the university's responsibility to put out the statement, and then the head coach's responsibility to defer to the statement and say that he can't talk about it. Yet James is not a strong enough head coach to be able to do that. So he's got to sit up there like a victim and say that he did it wrong.
That's right. Mike Smith, Mountain Mama. We are loving Utah getting humbled in our truck stop comp. However, do not be shocked if they beat BYU, Iowa State, or Colorado. They can still ruin someone's season since theirs are done.
Yeah, I don't.
Ruth.
So here's where I depart from the Utah haters. Utah haters want to say that they're getting humbled in the Big 12. They're not getting humbled in the Big 12. They're getting humbled by the injury report. And they're getting humbled by a lack of depth. And it's pretty much that simple.
Utah fans came out all summer long and were like, oh, yeah, we're just going to show up and win games. It doesn't work that way. But for guys like Force Ghost Fabio and every other Oak State fan that likes to talk a lot of junk, what happened when Utah went to Stillwater? That crappy, terrible, awful team that went Utah, because they suck. Remember, they can't. What happened when they went to Stillwater? I don't remember. Somebody remind me. Force Ghost Fabio, I'm not an Oak State fan. Oh, sure you're not.
Sure, you have a real good way of defending Oak State.
What a fraud. BYU won't lose to the team on the hill. God,
Google me.
Yeah, for BYU fans, dude, you
Google me.
Enjoy this next 2 weeks, because Saturday, what is that, November 9th? It's going to be puckered and tight, isn't it?
I got the YouTube TV.
Yeah, trust me when I say, you watching that game, BYU fan, go to that game. Get loud. But, homie, you lose that game, you better be here that Monday morning.
Yeah.
You know. Case Sunbury, there's an Oklahoma State fan of quality. Case Sunbury's a good Oklahoma State fan. Oak State needs a clean house. They do. Let's see. The Buffalo Hunter. Fabio only talks about Utah, no other team. That's it.
Rent free, bro.
And that's what I keep telling people, like, rent free. It's remarkable to me how many fans in this conference of the bad teams, and BYU, does BYU count in this? Probably not. But how many teams at the bottom of the table in the Big 12 are talking about Utah a lot.
And there's nothing wrong with talking about Utah's story and expectations versus what happened. There's nothing wrong with that. But
Yes.
I vehemently disagree with the concept that they're where they are because the Big 12 is some juggernaut of a conference. I disagree with that. I think they are where they are because you have no depth at quarterback and you seemingly don't have a way to win games other than playing defense right now.
You rode Cam Rising far too long.
Yeah. And now you're paying the price for that. So it's not that Arizona or Houston or K-State are just way better than Utah. That's not what this is. And I know that that's inconvenient, but it's just it is the truth that Utah, you caught Utah on the 1 year where they were vulnerable.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. I think that Iowa State, BYU, K-State are better than Utah. Other than that in this league, I think Utah is pretty close to everybody else. I think Utah's not elite. They're not special. Their defense is the best defense in the conference. But that's not going to win you games. This is a league where Deion Sanders is routinely putting up 30-plus points with an average defense, and they're winning games. Is Colorado better than Utah? Probably not. Do they have a much better record? Absolutely. Absolutely they do. But I am not the guy. I'm the one who told you Utah was going to win the league. Me and every other person that analyzes football, you would never have picked anybody else. Never. But now as a Utah fan, you gotta take your medicine. You do. Bronny James, master bricklayer. The Lakers are very good. One of the top probably 3 defensive teams in the league, in the entire NBA right now. I saw something that I never seen before Saturday. SMU at Duke had 6 turnovers. Duke had 0, and SMU still won. I didn't. If that's a stat, I did not know. Is that true? I was unaware that SMU had 6 turnovers in that game. SMU, another program with a quarterback problem, in my opinion. Let me find their box. SMU and Duke. That was actually quite an entertaining game. I watched like 5 minutes of it. Yeah, 3 interceptions. Oh, wow. SMU is good, not great. SMU deserves to be in the top 25, but they lost 3 fumbles. Yeah, wow. Good on you. I didn't notice that. I did not notice that. Duke is just good enough to beat you. Duke is just good enough to beat you. And Malik Murphy, actually, you want to talk about depth. How much talent was there in Austin? Are you out of your mind that Malik Murphy was like, nah, bro, I'm going to transfer? Leaves Texas and throws for 295 and 3 scores. But Texas is deep, dude. No, I'm not doing Arch Manning today. Stadium Guy James, the Utah fans I met in person were really nice because you met them in person. Utah fan is only a red ass on Twitter. That's what it is. Eric and Raleigh. Does Oak State still need new luxury boxes and student standing room only? I believe they do. It's S&M seating, I think is what you call it. Or facts. Tanner Plummer, there's a big faction of Utah fans that are nice. Sadly, there are also a big faction of Utah fans that are crazy obnoxious. Truth. BYU fan the same. Isaac Wilson transferring after this year. Dude, I think that was the single biggest mistake we have seen all season long from Utah. This is your guy. Isaac Wilson was one of the top quarterback recruits in the country out of Corner Canyon. And you yanked him out of the game? When your season's over, this is all developmental time. All developmental time. That is, Oh, look, there he is, the eye patch. Well, now that I'm warmed up, exactly. I identify as a Utah fan who doesn't like Utah fans. Utah fans are far worse than BYU fans. They continually belittle, in my opinion. I don't disagree with that. Now, that is not all Utah fans, but plenty. Oh, not everybody's everything, but dude, Utah fan is.
They have a reputation.
Bro, you missed my highlighted comment. Let's see. Damian Fowler, is every conference champ game team getting in? Yes. All the power conference champ games, yes. And Damian Fowler, a member for 12 months.
Nice job, bro.
Appreciate that. Mike Smith, a member for 15 months. Where did all of these come from? It didn't tell me that. There's usually an indicator that tells me. Guess the truck stop is no cakewalk, Utah fans. Apparently not. Apparently not. I would agree with that. 100%. All right, couple more. Then we need to. I don't want to talk. We're not going to talk about the Bears today. The Bears are. Let's keep talking about Utah. It's not. Mormon BYU fans don't curse. That's not true. Mayor the mayor, just the mayor now. He is the mayor of Monty Town. Just so you know. Why does that matter? My first BYU game was BYU versus Miami in 1990. I'm behind.
I'm not sure what we're referencing. Yeah,
I'm sure. Hey, McCluskey, how old were you in 2006? Who gives a rat's ass? I agree with that. Come on. It's Monday. It's okay, Monty. We can get through this. No. I am not going to talk Bears. I'm not. We're not. Okay, we'll talk Bears in 15 seconds.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Insurance companies don't always play fair, but we can keep them in check. Most cases settle out of court, but we'll take your case to trial if necessary. You deserve an advocate.
The Advocates at theadvocates.com. You guys, you need clear, risk-free advice when you get in an accident. If you get hurt at work today, it's coming in Utah. I enjoyed my last weekend on the golf course. There's a couple more 60-degree weekends I'll probably get out. This weekend was beautiful, and my driver hates me because it's probably a Commanders fan. I'm in this place golf-wise right now where yesterday I was trending. I was looking because I've been keeping a lot more score lately to end the season. With 3 holes left, I was on pace for a 74. Having a good round. And then my iron swing just went to Belize for vacation. I put up on the last 3 holes yesterday, a par 3, a par 5, and a par 4. I put up a 6 on the par 3. I put up an 8 on the par 5. Lost my drive left. And then on the 18th, which is a par 4, a massive headwind I was facing. And my tee shot went way left. I took a penalty, so I'm sitting with my 3rd shot about to be taken. And the wind is gusting in my face. I have 220 left. I pull out a 4-wood. That ball still has not landed. And wound up taking an 6 or 7, I think I took on that. Like what in the flying flip? With 3 holes to go, I was at a 66 with 3 holes to go. And absolutely fell apart and put up a 14. A 14.
Yeah, that's tough.
On the last 3 holes. It's not good. So if your golf game injures your soul, call the Advocates. TheAdvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. You get a free consultation. You get everything because you don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case. TheAdvocates.com. So not only did my golf game go away, Saturday, I played locally here at Glenmore. Saturday, shot a 34 on the front, 2 under. Awesome. Get to the ninth hole. We were only going to play 9. Get to the ninth hole at 34. Okay, it's par 4. Usually I birdie that hole. Take a 6. So I go from 34 to 40. Couldn't end it like that. So we played 18. Get to the par 5 at the back of this golf course. Send my driver high right down the middle. Send a forward, boom, right down. In position. Take my 54 degree, boom, pop it right up onto the front of the green. On the green in 3 on a par 5. 2-putt, par. Okay, we're fine. And I remember going to my car. And I got 3 holes left. Right? Having a great back 9. 3 holes to go. Pull up to the par 3. Iron shot, pulled it left. Pull up to the next par 4. Driver, pulled it left. Pull up to the last par 5 on the 18th. Haven't sliced a driver all day. That's the kind of weekend I had on the golf course. Then I come home yesterday, and what do we get? We get Chicago Bears football. Okay, we're fine. It's Washington. Late touchdown, we win the game.
Stay hard.
And then we decide not to cover on a Hail Mary. And it's not that they got lucky and hit a Hail Mary. Well, I could have lived with that. When we were watching it happen, I was saying to myself, oh, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand this thing that Matt Eberflus does on these, and he's done it. I've seen it 3 times, if I remember right. On Hail Mary situations, Eberflus rushes 3 and leaves a spy behind the 3 rushing. Why? Okay. So then, as a defense, you allow a guy to get behind you in the end zone? That is the cardinal sin of Hail Marys. We lose the game. Season's over. Comes to an end right there in that moment. Season's done. In this division, Bears will not go to the playoff now. You want to talk about Neil Brown? What about flipping Matt Eber sucks? Are you telling me that this guy's not going to get fired?
You got to talk about it.
I don't think he gets fired because my guess is they'll probably win 9 games. You look at the Bears' schedule remaining. The Bears don't have a difficult schedule. And the biggest issue here is in the conference now with that loss. You want to talk about a loss that debilitated you. You're now 8th, right? And you look at the fact you're 4-3. You are behind everybody in your division. The Lions are 6-1. The Packers are 6-2. And the Vikings are 5-2. It's over. It's over. And if you look at the Bears' schedule and you are 4-3, you're at the Cardinals. That's probably a win for 5. Patriots, 6. Packers is a loss. Vikings is a loss. Lions is a loss. Niners is a loss. Vikings is a loss. Lions is a loss. Seahawks is a win at 7. At the Packers is a loss. I could see them getting to 7 wins. Now, let's say they pull off a couple of wins they shouldn't. Okay, let's call it 9. Are you really telling me this is a team that should keep their head coach? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know who would say that they should. I just think that you have a ton of, opportunity offensively, and it's just not being utilized. And yeah, it's stuff like the Hail Mary situation where dude's running down the sideline talking junk, and then you can't defend it. It's what I say about Hail Marys every single time. A Hail Mary is not hard to defend. And more people are coming around to the concept of, hey, bring 5 and get to the quarterback before his guys get down the field. And whether you do that or you're just better defensively in the end zone, whatever it takes, you should not have lost this game. That's the thing. That's why I'd be talking about Eberflus.
It is a crippling loss for the Bears. The math does not add up. The difference between 4-3 and 5-2 right now is
huge.
Yeah, let me get this. You're 4-3. You're dead last in the division. Now, Is it possible to beat the Packers and the Vikings twice? It's possible. Is it possible I could father more children and become one of the most prodigious seed-spreading machines in the world? It's possible.
That's every day.
Is it going to happen? It's not. It's not. It's possible that I'll ever hit another good drive. Is that going to happen? It's not likely. The Bears are not winning the division. They're not going to the playoffs. When the Lions are 6-1 and you've got both of those games left, when the Packers are 6-2 and you've got both of those games left, and the Minnesota Vikings are 5-2 and you have to go to Minnesota the week before Christmas, what do you think the chances are that Caleb Williams still has both knee ligaments? Just if you're just honest, what do you think the chances are he paints his fingernails the last month of the season? I'm going to say it's not such a good chance. We have an elite defense, right? And I was talking to Ebersucks about this last night in our meetings. The Bears have an elite defense and horrendous offensive line play. The chances that Caleb Williams still has a groin attached to his hips, not likely. Not likely at all by the end of this season.
Right. Yeah.
You're not winning those 5 games.
Yeah, you're not beating those teams twice. That's just not happening.
For the Bears to go to the playoffs, they'd have to win all 5 of those games. If everything remains equal, and the math is highly, highly against them. And I would remind you, they've got to go to. Did you understand that their post-Thanksgiving stretch quite literally is rectal? Vikings at the Lions, at the Niners, at the Vikings, Lions. And you think this team's going to the playoffs?
Nah.
Bro, that's not happening. But wow, look at Calford. He gives 10 Monty. He gives 20 Monty Show memberships.
Good job, Calford.
Appreciate you, Calford. Good morning to you. Oak State James. FTR. I don't know what that means.
For the record.
Sorry, I'm not in the cool kids club. For the record, Oak State's offense has looked better since the bye week. Their defense is just awful. Gundy needs to fire Brian Nardo today. But wait, I thought it was Casey Dunn's fault. You guys understand that Mike Gundy was a quarterback. And he's supposedly an offensive witch. Boys, come on. Brian Nardo now is the problem?
They should both be fired, man. We've been saying it for weeks.
Yeah. You need to. I agree with Case Sumbry. They need to clean house. They need to clean house. Mike Smith. Mountain Mama. The Bears DB acting a fool during that play might be one of the instant karma examples I've ever seen. Stevenson running down the sideline, taunting Commanders fans. And he wasn't out of position. But is it not justice that it hit his hand? And not only did it hit his hand, but he put it up in the air to make the catch possible. When you're supposed to, quite literally, your hand is supposed to be angled like this on Hail Mary jumps. Bad fundamentals, bad coaching. If you go back and look at any breakdown of that Hail Mary, the Bears got every facet of it wrong. You rushed 3 guys and had a spy, disaster. You didn't have enough depth. You allowed an opponent to be behind you in the end zone, disaster. You didn't box guys out at the goal line, disaster. You didn't knock the ball down, disaster. Like, all of those things are fundamental in Hail Marys. Disaster. Just disaster. LFG, good morning to you, sir. Bears should have drafted another O-lineman instead of Odunze. I think Odunze has been the developmental win of the Chicago Bears season. Rome Odunze came out of college as a guy that was an underneath battler. Like, now he can run a full complement of routes, and make catches in any scenario. He has been a developmental win. Very developmental win. But that's just me. Fat old Mormon and dying. Man, how on earth is Missouri still ranked? How on earth? With all of their injuries. Mike Smith, take the cannolis and leave the gun. Fire the DC and the OC, but keep Gundy. Not so sure.
Well, I think you got to be honest about who's doing the firing, though. I mean, Gundy's a brand in that town, so he makes them money. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think that Mike is sitting there being like, well, I got to fire Casey Dunn, my friend. I think what they're doing is the boosters are saying, hey, we've had enough. We need new coordinators and a new staff.
The worst part for me is, like, do you guys understand the misery in my sports fandom? So Notre Dame's winning and Marcus Freeman's going to keep his job. So we'll always have some terrible quarterback.
Right.
The Chicago Bears are winning, so Ebersucks is probably going to keep his job. The Cubs, we're watching all of the former Chicago Cubs play for World Series championships right now. The Blackhawks are just not good. They're not good. And my guess is, and I could be wrong, North Carolina basketball is not going to be good this year. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, what about the Bulls?
I don't know who that is. It's the South Florida Bulls. I mean, they're terrible too. I'm not a South Florida Bulls fan, so I don't know why you would bring up the Bulls.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you mean Lonzo's knee?
Right. Those Bulls.
Now, having said that, Devin Booker's playing well. I mean, besides all the turnovers that cost him a game, other than that, he's playing great. Did you guys see? Did you guys see Kevin Durant? I admit, I freely admit, I am not a Luka Doncic fan. Now his mom's hot. My name is Luka. I'm not a Luka fan. I'm not. Every team I care about is in the crapper right now. It's ridiculous. Because, again, with Notre Dame, if they're not competing for a national championship every year, why are we even playing football? They're not national championship good. Can you imagine Notre Dame playing Georgia? My God. Notre Dame, our mother, would have to be in like full, like, just wind up the prayer machine, boys. Start like, go to confession. Everybody goes to confession every goddamn day, because I'm telling you right now, the people will die.
Yeah, the staffs, you're going to have enough staff to make sure there's enough dudes on the field to play Georgia.
People will die.
Yeah, you know.
Can you imagine this Notre Dame team going up against Georgia? Like,
yeah.
Maybe we can all get, no, I'm not going to ask for somebody not to be able to play through broken calcium deposits, but Ronnie James, master bricklayer for $5. I am hearing OU is looking to fire Venables and replace him with South Carolina's Shane Beamer. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I threw up a little bit in my mouth. Apparently, people at OU love Beamer. That's disgusting. No. See, and I think this is, again, one of these discussions. What do you value? Who are you? If you're USC, you're willing to pay $90 million to fire Lincoln Riley because you think you should be competing for a national championship. Should they? Are they? Okay, different. They think they should be competing for a national championship.
Right.
Deion Sanders. I know you guys all hate it, but what did Deion Sanders do? Deion Sanders straight up said, I'm not going to the NFL, but I'm not staying at an HBCU because I want to go to D1 and I want to win. And what is he doing? He's winning.
Hey, remember all those haters who said, Prime
he can't recruit, Marty.
Turning everyone over.
He's a portal guy.
This guy's a real jackwagon for saying it's Louis, and if you're not on board, get in the portal. Like, you know, I just think that people, you know, people hate on Prime simply because of his style, not because of his coaching.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You guys, it's fine. The eye patch. Who did Notre Dame destroy this week? At least you have that, Monty. That's true. I have a lot of empathy for Utah fan. But again, your entire season is still in front of you in 2 weeks.
Well, and you have the Utah Hockey Club. So what really can you complain about?
You know, what will the conversation be like 2 weeks from today?
Somebody's not showing up.
We will be reacting to BYU and Utah 2 weeks from today. I'm thinking about going to the game. I have somebody that's offering me tickets. I think Mrs. Monty and I might go to that game. You can't really watch it in person. It's so much better watching football on TV, but to be at a BYU Utah game, to see the family on family crime, to see all these jackholes who are going to show up with half a BYU jersey and half a Utah jersey, to watch them pour beer on Max Hall's mom. I mean, it's just something that you have to be there to experience. And it's not an hour away in Provo.
Right.
So, you know. Bronny James, master bricklayer. Did you guys see that Bronny James is going to be splitting time between the G League and the Lakers?
As he should be.
Just saying. Just saying. Freedom USA 1982. Semper Fi. BYU will beat the Utes by 30-plus points if Kalani decides not to be nice. I don't, because Kalani is awfully nice.
We remember Idaho State.
Kalani is very nice. Kalani is very, very nice. Far too nice. The stadium guy, James, but Marty, Notre Dame has played well over the last few weeks. Against who? We don't play anybody. And
Google
Army,
me.
Yeah, Google me. Army at Yankee Stadium, we should win that game by 28 points.
Yeah.
I've seen what we're doing because I'm on the team at Notre Dame. So, I mean, they all turned their jerseys in so that I could wear. Anyway,
You're a homer is the first part.
Total BYU. I am total. I don't even total homer for Notre Dame. Don't even deny it. Be you. That's what I am a homer for Notre Dame. You be you. Total homer. You be you. Stepanik. Monty, Notre Dame does have a touchdown. Jesus, we do. Notre Dame, our mother. Pray. Because Patterson might be waiting for another head coaching job with all the head coaches currently on the hot seat. There's one estimation that 20 coaches in the top 50 are going to get fired. Could you imagine that? I just don't believe that they have the what's the right way to say it? I don't think they have the courage, the want to, in the Big 12 to fire Dave Aranda, to fire, like Joey McGuire legitimately is in over his head.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we have a lot of Tech fans on the show. Would you fire Joey McGuire? How do you say no? Like malfeasance, poor coaching.
Yeah, what's the feel good about?
Has left you in this position. But hey, you know, I've always been a Dion fan, Stepanik says. But are you an Avery Johnson fan? I understand you guys won that game. Steve Stepanik, who does not run from his Wildcat K-State fandom. You're not, if you're a K-State fan, and those two should have been interceptions against Kansas, that last one before the game-winning field goal, dude, that lineman had it in his hands. That's nervous time. Fat old Mormon and dying. Notre Dame better not ruin Army season 2. Oh, they will. We will.
Got to beat the academies every year.
Utah Hockey Club has lost 3 straight games. What? What?
And I just can't believe that team would ever lose a game. It's incredible.
You need the Chiefs officiate. Did you guys see the Chiefs got more help yesterday? I don't need. The Chiefs are not winning a Super Bowl. I'll put Jake's testicles on the line for it. They're not winning a Super Bowl.
But DeAndre Hopkins.
They got more help from the official. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not playing. I already talked about the Hail Mary. I'm not playing your stupid games. Who wins the Super Bowl this year? Did you guys see the Browns beat the Ravens?
Dude.
Crab Stealer went off yesterday.
Crab Stealer. Browns fan feeling vindicated.
But
that
is
Jameis went out and
it
did it.
is it Osama bin Watson's fault? Is the washcloth guy the problem in Cleveland? Do you guys know that that's what they call him in Cleveland? Osama bin Watson.
Which stems from Osama bin Tomlin with the Steelers. And their players. But that's exactly how Browns fan feels. They feel that Deshaun has stolen.
Osama bin Watson.
Yeah, Osama bin Watson. Watson has,
please.
Yeah, has stolen the season.
Fat old Norman and dying. Army for the playoffs. Sorry, bud. Mayor McCluskey will never go to RES to watch a rivalry game. Coward. Wouldn't even come out and golf this year. Coward. Mike Smith, Holy War game should be epic this year. Non-Utah BYU fans are the winners no matter who wins.
100%. I
agree. Geoff. If BYU wins, Utah fans will be lighting Christmas wreaths on doors on fire again this Christmas. Could be. There will be no Christmas up on the hill if BYU wins that game. It is truly the only thing they have to hang on to.
Yes.
You still hung up on that Idaho State game 3 years ago? Yes, because he's too nice.
He's way too nice, bro.
Step on people's necks like Oak State James does.
From the IPF.
Would Cale Gundy work as OC for his brother? God. James is a devout believer. And he's writing a book about pedos in the church. You would really be okay with Cale Gundy. Could Gundy get Gary Patterson as DC? This is my wish list. P.S. At least TCU is winning. Go Frogs.
No.
You really want Cale Gundy?
So you've diverted or defected from an Oklahoma State fan to a TCU fan now, even though your wife is a Baylor fan.
Which is disgusting. Not going from Oak State to
unbelievers.
Best wide receiver room in the country, bro. How'd that work out for you? Stoop 1D. What's up, boys? What's that? No, we'll never do that. Number 2 is coming. It's a family show. Okay. Stu, man, can't wait to draft Travis Hunter. My Panthers are hot ass.
Bro.
Hot ass.
Still a great drop.
Because this team is just hot ass.
Mike Smith, if you don't care about the recruiting part, Dana could be a good infusion to your offense. He could. That's a great point. He's going to be an OC somewhere.
Yeah.
Does USC fire Lincoln Riley?
Yes.
I think they give him one more year because the defense is exponentially better, right? I mean, they are better.
I guess. Were they better against Michigan? No. Were they better?
How bad is Michigan right now?
Yeah. Like, I mean, were you, I don't know. Like, I don't disagree that generally they're better, but they haven't been better when you needed them to be better.
Mo Bamba says BYU and Utah on a bye week. I'll be watching the movie Rudy, LOL.
Shout out to Mo Bamba.
Yeah, it is disappointing that they're both on a bye week. Delaric, I'm convinced that Aranda has dirty pics of someone. That's why he has not been fired. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't understand it. I truly do not. Bricklayer says SMU currently greater than 4 Big 12 Texas teams. Well, you can't argue that. You can't argue that. I mean, if you look at TCU, who as elite as Hoover's been, I have no idea what to expect out of them week to week. Baylor's not good. Texas Tech is not good. They're not. SMU's not better than Texas.
Better.
They should be. And the hard part for me is when I look at. No, I'm not going to get into Texas Tech again. I'm not going to
go back in the show. We covered a lot of it.
You look at Houston. At least Houston's on the right line. Like you knew Willie, it was going to take time, and At least he's moving that program in the right direction. Freedom USA 1982. I want BYU to beat Utah by 30 points.
You're a homer is the first part.
They're not going to score 30 points. You guys fantasize about Utah. That Utah defense with Karene Reed is a different defense. Stepanek says Kansas City will win a Super Bowl, and the refs will help them. Habitual muffin. He eats muffins. Does Miami really have a better resume than BYU?
Here we go.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
Right, but the problem is more people watch Miami.
Miami's wins are Florida, Florida A&M, Ball State, South Florida, Virginia Tech, Cal, Louisville, and Florida State. Okay. So the Florida State win looks like hot ass.
It does.
BYU, Southern Illinois, win at SMU, at Wyoming, K-State, at Baylor, Arizona, Oak State, UCF. Nah, that's better. That's better than Miami. But I agree with you. Miami's had more moments, the Hail Mary in the end zone, like all those
Louisville game.
They've had better moments and more people watch. It's as simple as that. You know, like you look at the week 8 TV numbers, 4 million people watched Miami and Louisville. 4 million people. 10 million Alabama, Tennessee, 13.1 million Georgia, Texas.
I got the YouTube TV.
13 million people will not watch BYU this season, let alone one game. BYU right there at the bottom against Oklahoma State, 1.66.
Which, again, is very consistent.
It's a great number.
Yeah.
But it ain't 13 million. So, you know, it is what it is. All right. Ferris Khan just got here. What did I miss? So let me get this right. Michigan beats Michigan State, and you guys are ranked what in the top 25?
Oh, I win. Google me.
Hey, Michigan fan, here's a bit of advice. Why don't you start talking about Penn State instead of talking about your team? How about that? How about you employ that strategy?
Speaking of Michigan fan, though, seriously. Am I the only one? Am I the only one that is worried about Ohio State? Something ain't right there. I don't know if cat got your tongue. I don't know what's wrong. But something is wrong with Ohio State. I'm just telling you that.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't look explosive. They don't look like the same team that we've known them to be. And you know, haters say, oh, it's Will Howard, but I'm not saying it's Will Howard because I think he's looked fine. I think that
the offensive line.
Yeah, the offensive line is an issue. Their situational play calling is not great on offense, in my opinion, just based on what I've watched. Like, I don't know. It's just not been a great, powerhouse type year for Ohio State so far, yet they are still ranked, which is incredible.
I agree. All right. Let's get your prize picks rolling. Prize picks, the app. Download it. Use the promo code Monty, Monty, Monty on prize picks. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more instantly. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50. You can play all year on that. Monday Night Football. Russell Wilson. I love Russ at 206.5 passing yards. We're going more on that against the New York Football Giants. And then, of course, does George Pickens have a touchdown tonight? I think he does. So I'm going to take that. And then there's a couple other ones that are, there's a combo of Malik Neighbors and George Pickens for 125.5 yards combined. I love that one. But if you go to the NBA and you do as I tell you to do, and you go points, rebounds, and assists, because that's the category you bet in the NBA, I'm telling you, there's a couple that I think are really good. Paulo Banchero, 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He's hit it in 3 of his 5 games. I like that one a lot. I might go less on that, but where is my guy Bam Adebayo? I was looking at
He's
this.
probably busy looking at Dwayne Wade's statue.
Which is ugly. I think you either go Bam Adebayo or Nikola Jokic at 15.5. No, I'm going to go Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo, 30 points, rebounds, and assists. That's where I would go tonight. Prize Picks. Here's how you win. You make 3 selections on a flex play, which means you only have to win 2 of 3 to pay on a flex play. Download the Prize Picks app, Monty. Use the promo code Monty. You put in $5, they'll give you 50 more. Pretty simple. Do you want to go baseball tonight with Shohei's shoulder?
Yeah, I mean, they're saying that he's going to be able to play through it, which is good, obviously. But I think that, I don't know, at some point the Yankees are going to decide to start hitting. And I don't know, what it's going to take for Aaron Judge to, keep going. But I'm gonna definitely take the demon of 2 strikeouts for Aaron Judge tonight, based on the fact that he's 1 for 9, I think it is, in the World Series so far, 0 for 9. I like that one a lot. I think Tommy Edmonds been a guy that's been really productive in this series so far. That's one that I'd be looking at for hits, runs, and RBIs at 1.5. Juan Soto. The thing with Juan Soto is at Yankee Stadium, much more reliable offensively. It's easy to hit home runs for lefties at Yankee Stadium. Obviously, they're going home. Obviously, there's pressure to perform down 2-0. Can't lose this game. This is essentially your season, in my opinion, tonight. So you would expect guys like Juan Soto to have a better night.
What about the Chizzy Jizzy?
Yeah, he's a demon at 1 single. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Hits, runs, and RBIs. He's 1.5.
The combo of Clark Schmidt and Walker Buehler to allow a first inning run.
Nah. You like that?
I think that everyone's really high on Walker Buehler right now. And I think he still has a propensity to give runs up early, for sure, especially on the road. But
Gleyber Torres,
yeah, he's not a Gleyber guy.
Yeah, the only other one that I would look at here is strikeouts, because I think Buehler is going to be better every time he strikes a moment out.
Right.
What are his pitcher strikeout numbers? His pitcher strikeout numbers are 4. His demon strikeout number is 4.5.
Right.
Does he strike out 5 Chankies?
I don't know that he lasts that long, because you're either in one of 2 camps tonight in this game. You either think that the Dodgers are going to come out and do the exact same thing they did at home, and they're going to dominate, and Walker Buehler is going to have this great outing, and it's going to be basically the end of the Yankees season, or you're in the camp that says, hey, the Yankees are going home, they're getting right, they're going to put up 6, 7, 8 runs tonight.
Here's what I've got. I've got my guy Juan Soto, 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs on a demon. More. Mookie Betts a hit, 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I want more. And Walker Buehler more than 4 strikeouts. Let's do this. I'm submitting that lineup. So I've got 2 tonight on the NFL and on Major League Baseball. Prize Picks, America's favorite daily fantasy app, joins the tens of millions of people who play on Prize Picks. Use the promo code Monty. Let's see. Freedom USA. I hit 8 for 8 on my bets Saturday. Okay. I'm doing very well financially. I like it. Monty, I hope your teams will do better. They won't. Is there any more suffrage than being a Chicago sports fan?
No.
The White Sox were quite literally one of the worst teams in the history of Major League Baseball. Okay, well, that brings joy. So there's a good thing, right? No. Even as a guy now, as a Chicago Cubs season ticket holder,
right?
My wife's going to Hawaii on opening day weekend. And the funny thing is, you don't really know who listens to the show until you start talking about hey, I'm going to wind up going back to Chicago on my own. It's going to be, man, hey, dude, you got an extra ducat? I'll take it. Sure you will. I'm sure you will. I'm excited. Yeah. But anyway, so Cubs, all I'm asking for is a 3-game sweep of the Padres to start the season. That's it. I'll be there for 2 of those 3. That's it. That's it. And you sign Juan Soto. Other than that, am I really asking for too much?
Because shit's going good.
They're not going to sign Juan Soto. You know it, and I know it. Is there any way we can convince Mark Cuban to buy the Rangers? He would fork over the money to get Aaron Judge. Guy, they just won the World Series. What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
Anyway, Mayor. Hey, Morty, do you have an extra ticket for opening day? No, I do have tickets for spring training if any of my Arizonans would like Cubs season or Cubs tickets to spring training. Tanner, Notre Dame and the Bears could be a lot worse. Be grateful. Could be a lot worse. We just got beat on a Hail Mary.
Tanner, let me go ahead and say this. It's rich of you to say be grateful after the things you say about BYU.
Good Lord.
Come on now.
Mayor McCluskey says not cool. I probably have so many people like, hey, dude, I'll go back.
It's not cool that you didn't golf with us this year. You're right. It's not cool, dude. That's offensive.
Steve Stepanek, are you taking Jake with you? No, Jake is fully engaged in life. So, at some point we as adults have to, empty nesting. And my wife is going to Hawaii for a triathlon, and it just happens to coincide with opening weekend of the Chicago Cubs. Do I go to Hawaii and sell my Cubs tickets? No. 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 No, I'm going to Chicago. Do the Blackhawks play? Wait, whoa.
Oh, dear. Oh, my. Here we go. Oh, dude. We're loading.
Where are we?
Notice he said we.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
Sunday, April 6th, the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's a 4:00 drop at the UC.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the fucking vernal equinox.
Where will the Bears be? Okay, this has the potential. This has the potential. If this next one works out, this has the potential to be game-changing. Oh, my God, the Bulls are home.
What's an erection?
Against Portland. I get to see the team that doesn't have Dame anymore. Wow. So I could do the Bulls on the 4th, Cubs and Bulls on the 4th, and the Chicago Blackhawks on the 6th. Cubs on, oh my God. Yeah, now we're cooking with gas.
Just a stalwartness.
And Superdog. And the Pump Room. Done. That's going to be one of the greatest sports weekends ever. That's amazing. See? They're all going to lose. But we'll feel better about ourselves because we will have been there to see the devastation. Mayor McCluskey, Monty, when do we fly out for that weekend? I'll be wearing my Caruso jersey. Oh, Mike Smith, my cousin is a huge Penguins homer. Otherwise, she's pretty cool. There you go. Exactly right. Michael Jordan has a chance to win a NASCAR championship. Does he really, though? Does he really? It's fine. Pitt SMU on ACC Network, WTF, because I know you're a huge Pitt fan, Loner Phone, but does that feel like, oh my God, I've got to see that game? Dude, now I'm stoked. Now, Bulls, Cubs, and Blackhawks on the same weekend. See, that's called living right. Notre Dame's going to lose. The Bears are going to be done at that point. Life is good. The Monty Show presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. Clear, risk-free advice, and you never reach into your pocket to pay the Advocates. You have nothing to lose. You've been in an accident. You get hurt at work. Advocates.com. Chat with an injury attorney 24/7, 365. It won't cost you a dime. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.